Life doesn't give us time to prepare for impact. One moment you may be on your way somewhere, the next everything has changed. My guest today understands this in a deeply personal way. Kelly Tuttle is a neurology nurse practitioner who in 2015 became the patient instead of the provider when a devastating car accident left her with a traumatic brain injury. The journey back wasn't easy, but she made it, and now she's helping others do the same. She's the author of After the Crash, a powerful guide for TBI survivors navigating emotional, physical, and cognitive recovery. Today, she shares her story and the steps she developed to help others re-enter life with confidence, clarity, and courage. If you've ever faced a before and after moment in your life, or you know someone who has, this episode may be your roadmap to resilience. Welcome to the Minute Mastery Podcast, a conversational productivity and time management podcast where busy authors and entrepreneurs are inspired to create time for what truly matters. I'm your host, Ngozi Edema. I'm a time management coach, writer, and entrepreneur. Here, you are encouraged to turn your minutes into milestones and to create at least 1 hour a day working on your goals without feeling overwhelmed. And while you are here, hello mamas and papas. Are you looking for the next book for that special kid in your life? Here is a book recommendation for you. Meet Freddy and the Veggies, an adventure where veggies are superheroes. Fun, colorful, and a parent's secret weapon. Say goodbye to veggie battles at the dinner table, because in Freddy and the Veggies, kids discover that healthy eating can be an exciting adventure. And they can still hang out with their sweet friends too. Fun characters and lively illustrations. Available in the Kindle store and on paperback formats. A brain injury doesn't just affect memory or mobility. It can affect every facet of life, including how we think, work, rest, relate to others, and show up in our daily routines. For many, it disrupts the very foundation of productivity, purpose, and identity. My guest today knows this all too well. Kelly Tuttle is a neurology nurse practitioner helping patients recover from brain trauma until she became the patient herself. In 2015, a car crash left her with a traumatic brain injury that changed everything. Kelly, thank you for coming to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So let's start from the beginning. Can you share your personal journey with traumatic brain injury and how it changed your life, both personally and professionally?
Yes, I'd love to. So my story begins with a thunderous clap of metal and a shattering of glass. I was driving down a rural road and another car pulled out in front of me suddenly, and I was unable to stop and ended up T-boning the other car. It was a pretty terrible car accident, and my car was totaled. But despite that, I declined being taken to the emergency room by ambulance and thought I would shake off this wreck and get back to life. In fact, I went to work the next day. And when I went to work the next day, my colleagues who are nurses and nurse practitioners noticed a change in my speech and personality or behavior and speech and behavior, and recommended I see my general practitioner the next day, which I did. And I was diagnosed at that time with a concussion and whiplash. And I was taken off work for 2 weeks. I thought, oh, I'll be better in 2 weeks. And I went back to life. I was a mom. I was training in martial arts. I was working full time, 40 plus hours a week, driving a 2 hour a day commute plus. And about 3 months into me trying to get back to my life, I fell asleep at the wheel. And fortunately, bouncing off the road woke me in time to slam on my brakes before I ran into a tree. And this is how good my concussed brain was working. I decided I would continue trying to get back into life, and I would just take a nap in my car on the side of the road. Which is not smart and not something I'd recommend. Fortunately, shortly after, I had lunch with a colleague at the time who was a neurology nurse practitioner. I was a cardiology nurse practitioner at the time for 20 years. And she asked me how I was doing. I had mentioned some symptoms and then the fact that I fell asleep at the wheel and said that's okay. I was going to just take a nap halfway in between my drive, work, and home. And my colleague said, no, that is not okay. You need to see a physical medicine rehab doctor, a physiatrist, EMR doctor. They specialize in brain injuries and spinal injuries. And you need a brain scan. I listened to my colleague and eventually got those referrals. And after my appointment with the physical medicine and rehab doctor, I was referred to speech therapy, neurotherapy, and physical therapy. And I finally started getting on to the right road of recovery. And then because I was trying to get better, I was reading everything I could about the brain and traumatic brain injuries and became very passionate about the brain and decided that I would change my career and try to qualify for a job as a neurology nurse practitioner. And I worked and studied and begged and pleaded, and I was able to get a position as a neurology nurse practitioner 2 years later.
Well done. So, at what moment did you realize that this injury would change everything, would change your life as you know it?
Well, it really felt like that day of the car accident, my body survived, but I died. The old Kelly died. And going into a year after the car accident, I realized that things weren't going to get better anytime soon and that I might have to get comfortable with the disabilities that I had accumulated from the brain injury. So I went out on my deck with a cup of coffee and my brain injury recovery journal, which I started to journal about 6 weeks after the car accident. And I drew a line down the piece of paper, and on the left side, I wrote old Kelly stuff, my old passions, my goals, my values, and my beliefs. And then on the left side, I wrote basically the things that I gained from my brain injury, such as a slowed down life, more gratitude, more present in my life, and appreciation. And when I compared the two lists, there was a few things I was sad to see I needed to let go, but the rest of it, I was okay letting it go. And I liked the person I was becoming. And I think doing that little exercise, creating that visual columns of the old and the new, really allowed me to start growing and accepting my disabilities and embracing my new self and my new brain.
So, what I love about your story so far is that you didn't stop at survival. You created a new framework for thriving and you turned it into a resource that you can use to help others at the same time. So, that's a very brilliant thing to do. And although you said that your old Kelly died, but you managed to create a new version of you, which is encouraging and inspiring. So, what are some of the key steps you believe are essential for living fully again after such an injury?
Well, one of the things I really encourage my patients to do is to journal their symptoms because it's really important with a brain injury to kind of self-monitor what works for you and what doesn't. And the journaling helps you, and it has so many benefits. But some of them are identifying your brain injury symptoms because everyone's brain injury is as different as their personality, and their recovery will be as unique as their personality. So it's really important to get to know your brain injury symptoms, what makes your symptoms worse, what makes them better. And then once you identify that, you're able to apply strategies and tools to support your brain's performance while you're at work and getting back to life. So that's super key. The other thing about the journal is it helps you get out of your brain, away from negative ruminating thoughts. And that is something that a lot of brain injury survivors share, is kind of being stuck in our heads with negative swirling thoughts and worries and concerns. And it's important to get out of your brain and put those thoughts on paper. And once it's on paper, you get a better perspective of whether this is a reasonable thought. Is it helping you? Is it not? Should I let it go? Should I take it to my therapist? Should I talk to my friends or family about it? Or it's really too crazy, I'm just going to keep it to myself. And then it helps with the mindfulness, which is and grateful and being grateful, which have been shown to help with brain health. And it helps with neuroplasticity, which is the rewiring of the brain around damaged tissue. That hand onto the paper is really good at creating new connections. So it's
Thank you.
definitely the number one tool I would
Hmm.
recommend.
So journaling is the number one tool you recommend. And journaling is good even for everyday life, even without an injury. I want to ask you something. Have you been sitting on a creative project or book idea for months, maybe even years? Because life just wouldn't slow down. If that sounds like you, I created something just for you. It's my standard 6-week coaching package, a focused, personalized experience designed to help you finally finish what you started. Here is how it works. For 6 weeks, we meet once a week, just you and I. You'll get a custom time plan that fits around your real life. Not some cookie cutter schedule, but something that actually works for you. You will also get email check-ins from me because I know how easy it is to fall off the track when no one is checking in. This is perfect for busy moms, writers, and entrepreneurs, or anyone who is juggling life and a dream at the same time. So, if you've been waiting for the right time, consider this your sign. Let's turn those minutes into milestones. Head over to this episode's show notes to enroll or learn more about this program. Was there one step that felt especially hard or one that gave you the most hope during this time?
Yes, the most impactful step, I believe, was that moment where I looked at my old self and looked at my new self and embraced my new self. And I call that letting go. And there is a grieving process with a brain injury or any chronic illness. You have to grieve the loss of your health. And when I say that, I don't mean like get over it or forget about it. I say get to know it, bring it along with you. Make sure it's not preventing you from moving forward, but you take it along with you on your new journey of getting to know your new self, your new values and passions, and where you want to start your next chapter.
So, in your book, one of the things you said you did was the hidden toll of brain injuries. You've mentioned a lot, touched on it a little, that it's not just the physical strain, but the emotional and the mental one too. And for survivors navigating daily life, it can be exhausting in many ways. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that TBI survivors face in their day-to-day lives that often others don't see?
Well, the biggest challenge is getting the right care for your right symptoms. So it's really important to get to know your symptoms and know that going to a neurologist isn't necessarily going to be the person who's going to help you with those symptoms. It's finding out who can help you with those symptoms. For example, I had light sensitivity, difficulty with walking, neck pain, and decreased screen time when it came to computers, and neurofatigue with reading and trying to learn and memorize things. And it turned out that I was having difficulty with processing my vision. And when I saw a behavioral optometrist, I was diagnosed with what's called binocular vision dysfunction. And then I was prescribed glasses that helped realign the misalignment of my vision. And with that, this light sensitivity decreased. My neck pain was able to heal because I was realigning my vision by tilting my head to the right. And then I had increased energy and was able to tolerate screens longer and read longer, and my headaches became less and less frequent.
So, how can loved ones or employers offer meaningful help to someone struggling with TBI?
Well, I would speak to the loved ones, believe what they're telling you. Nobody wants to admit that they can't do anything because they don't have the energy. There's like behavioral issues after a brain injury, difficulty with initiating projects, maintaining motivation, focus, concentration. So believe in your loved one that what they're saying is going on. It's true that they're not helpful around the house, or them being grumpy, maybe saying things that they don't mean to say. It's not them. And that person still loves and appreciates the care you're giving them, but it's their brain. So when your brain is healing, it takes a ton of energy. For a healthy brain, it takes about 20% of our energy. So with healing, it takes even more. And there's this thing called neurofatigue, which is totally different from regular fatigue. And with the neurofatigue, that means that the brain injury survivor doesn't have the brain energy to power up filters, to modulate their moods, to get motivated, to get things done. So they may do and say things that you as a caregiver may not appreciate. But you should remember that it's not the person who is causing these issues, it's the brain. And so if they say something that's hurtful, remember that it's not them saying it, it's their brain saying it. And it's a symptom that their brain needs something. It needs downtime, quiet time, rest. And then for employers, again, believe the employee. If they request that you turn off the fluorescent lights so they could focus better and manage their headaches better, believe them and provide that simple intervention so that they can be the most efficient and productive employee they can for you.
Thank you. So, obviously, TBI would definitely affect productivity. And so we cannot continue to cry over what we cannot do, but we can focus on what we can do. So what is one advice you give to someone in that situation right now who is struggling with productivity? They are not able to do what they were previously they could do. They don't have the energy to do it. They don't have the motivation to do it, but they want to be useful in some ways and do something for themselves or for others. What is one thing you would tell them to do to move them forward in spite of their challenges?
I would definitely have them go to their general practitioner and ask for a referral to speech therapy. Speech therapists not only help you with your words, but they also help with cognitive functioning. And they can do an evaluation and decide which compensatory tools would best support your brain's performance at work. The other specialist is an occupational therapist, so ask for a referral to them, and they can also help you with supporting your brain at work. And I would also recommend having your vision evaluated and your hearing evaluated to make sure that there isn't any issues with your brain's processing of your vision or your auditory inputs.
Thank you. So where can my audience find you and what can they hope to achieve if they come to you?
Well, you can find me at kellytuttle.org. That's my website. And on there, you can find my book. And I also will be releasing an online program for anybody who's interested with a mild traumatic brain injury or symptoms of brain fog to help reintegrate smoothly back into work. So that's what I am an advocate for, is to support the worker to get back to work. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's Kelly Tuttle Brain Loving Advocate, where I post videos on short videos on content that will support your brain while you're at work and at school.
Well done for your hard work, Kelly. And thank you very much for your transparency, your strength and your heart, and your desire to help others who have going through a similar situation. It's not everyone that will say, okay, I'm going to help myself and I'm going to see how I can help someone else who is also suffering similarly. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I just don't want anybody to go through what I went through alone. I want them to know we're here cheering them on and there is hope.
Thank you. So you've shown us what's possible when we lean into the slow process of healing and refuse to let adversity steal our future. Whether you're recovering from trauma, supporting a loved one through it, or simply learning how to rebuild when life knocks you off track, remember, your story isn't over yet. You can still rise again and do stuff for yourself. Kelly's example is something that inspires and is encouraging. If this episode has inspired you, please take a moment to rate and review the show. And if you know someone walking through their own after the crash season, share this episode with them. It might be just what they need to hear today. And check out this episode show notes for all the links that includes Kelly's links as well. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Minute Mastery podcast. If you have found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who could use more time in their day. And remember to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, Remember, you are in control of your time, and you've got this.